Hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to click on this video and to watch it. My name is Todd Kingery, and I am here to share a little bit with you about my debut novel, The Witchfinder, published by BHC Press. This book is available in retail stores. If you cannot find it on the shelf, just give them my name and the title of the book, and they can order it for you very easily. It's available in hardcover, softcover, and as an ebook. You can also go to the publisher's website, bhcpress.com. There you will find a picture of the cover. Click on that, and it will take you to a page with a number of links to online retailers. If you prefer to order from Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, any of those kind of retailers, you can do so very easily from this one site. This book is the first in a trilogy called the Diparian Saga, and I'm here today to share a little bit with you from the beginning of one of my favorite scenes in the book. To give you a little bit of context, the main character in the book is Malachi Thorne. He is a witchfinder who works for the Church of the Diparis, and he and his friends are fleeing from a group of men. Those men are trying to recover two prisoners that Thorne and his friends have in their possession. This is found on page 203 in the hardcover. If you are currently reading the book or you haven't gotten to this point yet, then I encourage you to skip this video, come back to it at a later date, because I don't want to give any spoilers away if you haven't gotten to this point yet. Chapter 23 is entitled Trust. "Move!" Thorne shouted. "They're almost on top of us!" Rain lashed them as if the heavens sought to stop their flight. Clouds like ashen fungi massed above the treetops. Thorne hunkered over Gamaliel's mane. The forest to either side flashed by as steel-colored smears. Behind him rode Merrick and Vaughn. Warner followed, and Cabot held the rear. "Where are we, Malachi?" Thorne shouted through the rain. His hands were tied loosely to the saddle horn, his feet beneath the horse. Vaughn was similarly restrained. It gave them limited control over their horses, with just enough complexity to deter escape. "There's a sign up ahead," Vaughn said. Thorne read the name Hanvale through the downpour. Something white moved at the corner of his eye. He prayed it wasn't any more of Merrick's men. They had left Rich Dubose and Murnau Carden tied up in Kossuth when they departed with Merrick. Thorne had known it wouldn't take them long to escape. What he hadn't anticipated was the two men forming a posse to track them down. By his count, a dozen men closed in on them. He had hoped to make it to Nashton, but that looked less likely with every passing moment. Merrick had done his best to slow their progress. Thorne couldn't blame him. He'd have done the same thing if the situation was reversed. Regardless, with two prisoners to contend with, more horses tied together, and their need to move cautiously, they simply couldn't maintain a steady pace. 20 minutes ago, Dubose and his men had streamed over a hill behind them. Thorne glimpsed more white to either side, like gossamer draped among the branches. He couldn't tell if it stretched across the road ahead or if it was just the rain and clouds. He spurred Gamaliel again. "Shit!" Cabot's yell echoed through the rain. Thorne glanced around. The constable yanked an arrow from the bedroll behind his saddle, and threw it aside. Another arrow landed in the mud where Warner's horse had just been. A third sailed wide and left. One zipped high over Thorne's head. They raced along a road labeled S Park. As they neared the center of town, the lacy strands became thicker. It draped over the sides of the buildings. In some places, it formed a ceiling above them that even the storm failed to penetrate. Thorne looked back again and cursed. The posse closed fast. He hit the main intersection and turned right onto a road identified as 412. Now the only rain that made it to the ground came through rips in the blanket of cottony webs crisscrossing overhead. Derelict, boarded-over buildings lined the streets. Doors hung off hinges. Windows had been shuttered or busted inward. The stench of death lingered. "Boss, what is this place?" Warner glanced nervously from side to side. "I don't know." He eased toward the side of the street. Cabot wiped a smear of mud off his cheek. "Why are we slowing down? They'll be on us any minute." "We need to get out of here," Vaughn said, her voice constricted. The color had dropped from her face, or maybe it was just the ivory light beneath the webs. "What the hells is this?" Warner tapped his saber against a finger-thick strand that anchored to the base of a building. The vibration quivered into the massive canopy overhead. "No, don't do that!" Vaughn yelled. "What's wrong?" Thorne asked. Wild, unrelenting fear shone in her eyes. She looked back and forth, wet hair slinging from side to side. This was another expression Thorne had never seen on her before. It made him uneasy. "Malachi, my boy," Merrick said in an urgent whisper, "I think we need to move. Now." Horses approached. Gamaliel whinnied, flattened his ears, and backed up. The other horses stomped and snorted. "That's far enough, mate," Rich Dubose yelled. The posse rode into the intersection behind them. "Give us Trago and you can leave. My word on it." Half the riders held bows at the ready. Vaughn rode up beside Thorne. "We can't stay here." She didn't look at him, but kept scanning the streets. Her horse shook its head and laid its ears back. Thorne stared at the men in the intersection. "I don't know that we have any choice now. Damn it, we're outnumbered, and our horses need rest." He hated indecisiveness as much as he did heretics. "We may have to fight," he added, though without confidence. Gamaliel's nervousness didn't help. "It's no good, Malachi. We're outnumbered 4-1, the constable reported. "What'll it be, mate?" Dubose yelled again. Carden led half the riders toward Thorne's group. Their mounts seemed equally reluctant and needed prompting every few steps. The webbing darkened. "Just kill him, for fuck's sake," one of the riders exclaimed, "and then let's get out of here." "Malachi, please," Vaughn pleaded. The air vibrated. The hair on Thorne's arms prickled. His eyes widened as the daylight grew dark. What in God's name? The webs across the street undulated. Horses screamed and reared, throwing two of DuBose's men into the muddy intersection before bolting out of sight. Everyone looked around, yelling and cursing and trying to control their frenzied mounts. The buildings squirmed. The two loose horses raced back into the intersection. They turned and galloped toward Merrick, Cabot, and Warner. Screaming, eyes mad with fear, both animals collapsed into the mud as if shot. Dozens of large spiders scuttled over their haunches. Spiders scurried down the ropey strands toward the ground. They crept out of the vacant windows. They poured from the webbing between the buildings. The clicking of their segmented legs filled the air. 8 bulbous black eyes surmounted each of the heads that bore too much resemblance to human faces. "Go! Go!" Thorn bellowed. As he turned Gamaliel, another sight froze his blood. Flying spiders swarmed into the intersection. Legs curled under their plump bodies, they moved like bees, darting and zipping through the air. A writhing clump of legs, bodies, and human-like faces already buried the 2 fallen horses. A carpet of scuttling bodies spread out from the buildings toward the center of the street. "Move!" Thorn barked. He grabbed the bridle of Vaughn's horse and buried his spurs in Gamaliel's flanks. The horses lunged forward, the momentum almost dislocating Thorn's arm. Merrick, Cabot, and Warner charged after them. The fear-crazed horses galloped down the streets, unmindful of bridle or rein. Everyone swatted the air with sword or arms, trying to keep the flying terrors at bay. More spiders joined the chase from the webs overhead. "There!" Thorn pointed toward a 2-story building on the corner, made of crumbling red stone, every window in which had been boarded up. What had once been the front door was now a gaping hole with blackness beyond. A large square of wood leaned against the building beside the door. Thorn raced toward and through the doorway, leaning to the side to avoid slamming his head against the lintel. The interior was dusty and vacant, except for scattered piles of stone and rotting timbers. Gamaliel clattered to a halt. Thorn vaulted from the saddle. "Solomon, let's get that piece of wood over the door. Thurl, get a fire going." Thorn helped Warner maneuver the wood into place, something the former occupants must also have done. Judging by the lack of human life they had encountered so far, Thorn wondered where all of the congregants were now. "What about us?" Vaughn shouted, her horse sidestepping smaller spiders that had emerged from the debris. "You got it?" Thorn shouted to Warner. The deputy nodded as he stomped the smaller spiders that scuttled between the wood and the doorframe. Thorn unsheathed his dagger as he sprinted for Merrick's horse. He slashed his ropes as he ground spiders underneath his boot heel. He repeated the process with Vaughn. For several moments, all they heard were grunts and curses, panicked horses, crunching spider bodies. Then finally, the welcome crackle of fire. I hope that's interested you enough to maybe pick up a copy of the Witchfinder and see what this is all about. It's been getting some very good reviews on Goodreads, Library Thing, NetGalley, and if you happen to pick it up and read it, I really would appreciate if you would leave a review on as many sites as you can. Reviews don't have to be long, just a couple of sentences. You don't even need to finish the book, so if you get through it and decide you really don't like it for whatever reason, you can still leave a review. Cut and paste your review into as many places as you can. You can also share it on your blog, if you have one, your website, or to your social media accounts. Reviews do help to get the word out about the book. So I would appreciate your reviews if you get a chance to read it. Again, the title of the book is The Witchfinder. It's the first in the Diparian Saga trilogy. I'm Todd Kingry, and I thank you for joining me here today for this reading, and look forward to doing this again. Have a great day.